All right, welcome to the No Names podcast. My name is Lux Diablo, and I'm your host for this episode. And today we do have a special guest with us. We have SacredAlmighty, who is a very famous Pokemon YouTuber. And
Don't do that.
Okay, or not.
Or
you
could. I'm just a Pokemon YouTuber.
100,000, dude.
I mean, yeah, you're pretty big name. Anyways,
Me?
Sacred. Oh, if you want, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hello. My name is Nick, SacredAlmighty. Like Lux said, I cover Pokemon fan games and whatever Pokemon has to offer at that time. That's about it. I'm not famous, that's for sure.
Come on. Be humble.
Not even. If I was famous, it'd be different. But I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. I want to start off. I want to start with a banger question.
Okay.
How do you feel about like current fan gamescape?
I think
Of,
a
like,
lot of
what's
them
being
are.
released?
I think they're all castle. The Game Jam games are really good for how like short they are, or for how like short the time span was for them. But for the most part, I think a lot of them are kind of like, I don't want to say this, and they've kind of off like a dick-ish area, but they're not like there's more to be desired for sure, for a lot of them. Like
So,
whether it's
yeah.
some like for some it's story, for some it's like aesthetic, like just tile sets and whatnot, or like character choices and whatnot. And for some, I guess it's the available Pokemon. Like it's like certain things, like even the good ones have flaws. So it's like you can't really like judge a lot of them, but for the most part, the ones that like I make content on end up being like really, really good.
Yeah. If I have to recommend like one from the Game Jam, I would like unconventional, of course, would be Dirks's Tohomon. Because I think that might be interesting for your channel, because I know you're going through the Yu-Gi-Oh game. So that might be one that interests people, because that one is... he writes the story for it, and it's interesting, for sure. But I can see where you're coming from with, like, in the 40 days, you're not going to have a well-polished story thought out.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I would recommend Bushido, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Bias a little
Thundaga's
bit.
game.
Oh yeah, the game that Thundaga made, yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
So one question I did have, I know like you mentioned in your fan game video that you had recently, like obviously you have like a lot of things that you'd have like to be desired from fan games. So if you were to make a fan game, what would be like your go-to for like a story or aesthetic or something?
I think a really good like I like the idea, like I understand like we live in like a time where like people like to I said this before, like I feel like what happened with fan games where a lot of people saw what their favorite YouTuber were covering, and then Jay Dish decided to just make a game like it. So like say for instance like Reborn at one point, you know how many Reborn clones there are, oh my god. And like how edgy, like how like the aesthetic, and even like certain like cliches that Reborn has, a lot of like fan games like take from it because they see like Munching Orange or Shofu or me or like Volty see like they see us react to it, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, they're gonna like that, or the people are gonna like that. But I think if I was to ever make a game, I think I would definitely have like a smaller main cast for sure, and just have like a bunch of side characters, and then have a few characters that just kind of mean something to not an overarching story, but their respective like towns and regions and stuff.
Okay.
And then I guess for aesthetic would probably just be something that I'll probably just go off like as I go for sure. Because every town would ideally need to have like its own theme, and that would be like where I would base that off of.
Yeah, I think theming, instead of theming a region off of one thing, I think theming like, let's say you make a region that's like island based. You could have each island be a different like theme of the world. Kind of just pull like an Epcot with a Pokemon region. That would be interesting to see if somebody ever did it.
If I kind of don't want to like share this, but I mean, fuck it, why not? My fan game of choice would actually be taking a lot of elements from my favorite game, Skies of Arcadia, where essentially it would be island based, but every island has like a different culture to it.
Okay.
So like every island that you go to, there'd be like a I don't know, like a harbor town. There's like a merchants and shit like that. Another one would be based off of like, I don't know, like Japanese lore and whatnot, where like they have legendaries based on that. Like every region would be every island would be a region essentially. It'd be big as hell, but it'd be like there's certain story arcs that you don't stay around for.
So instead of it being like a game to focus on one area, it'll be kind of episodic to where it's you travel to multiple
It'll be
islands.
a game scale where it's like you have this one. So like for me, I hate to spoil it, but fuck it. So in my ideal fan game, it would essentially be like there would be like what 5 regions. One region's like the leading like nations, like that, kind of like the Avatar, where it's like the Fire Kingdom was like the number one. It had the power, it had everything or whatever, and it was expanding. And you are essentially stopping that from happening. But they're going to each of these regions and they're capturing all these legendary Pokemon. And ideally, like I would love to like make my own Pokemon to like fit like said islands or whatever. But I mean, we have enough legendary Pokemon as is to like fit like certain lures and whatnot. But I would assign legends to each like region and have it to where like this evil kingdom is going to these regions and taking these legendary Pokemon, and these legendary Pokemon have like a certain role in the ecosystem of that region, where it's not just a legendary Pokemon, it's like an actual guardian, a force of nature essentially. So like say for instance, like I can go to like Japan, and the legendary beasts are like essential to how that region like does anything. But if you take it, let's say you steal Raikou, there's no more rain, there's no more storms. And Suicune's entire like lore behind it is like you giving life and stuff. What if you take Suicune away and all of the forest starts to like decay? Or even if you take like Entei starts to like, whenever he roars, volcanoes like erupt or whatever. And like if you take him out of that region, unfortunately that region has a lot of volcanoes in it, dormant volcanoes, and it's like, okay, well we just took them and now it's going crazy. So it's like I wanted to ideally make like an actual like an episodic release, sure, but every episode is a region in itself, to where like you have like your main cast of like 5 or 6 characters that are important main characters, but every time you go to the regions there's maybe like 10 or 15 supporting characters, and these are all like, I'd say like maybe like 5 or 6 of them are like side quests, but then the rest of them are like actually progressing in the story.
So there's, I don't know, you might know this, but there's a script that is public resource that allows you to do multiple protagonists, or you can switch it off with an event. Mm-hmm. Would you maybe do that if you wanted to like run multiple protagonist stories for like a side quest, let's say? I
would love that actually.
I know.
I don't think the main character would need to go and grab all the side quests, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like say for instance like your female main character, she has to go to like a certain spot in the town or whatever, and you still got to do main character stuff. Like you as the playable character, you got to still do main character stuff, but say like, hey, I want it to be optional too, where it's like if you want like a whole story for it, it's like, hey, if you want, do you want to go play as, I don't know, Lisa or something like that? It's like, yeah, click yes, and then if it clicks it switches over to her perspective and what she does. And then if you want, you could ideally just go back to where you were at, and then like you would essentially play up to where you eventually meet up with her.
Yeah, and if you you could set as an event trigger to where it's, if you finish her side quest, it'll get that trigger, so you meet her there and you get the story. Or if you don't do it, you still activate that trigger and meet her. But by doing that side quest, you get more lore to the world.
Yeah,
and to her. That's interesting.
But that's one of the things that I have in mind, but it's such a big idea that it's like, it's a lot to do. That's taking like a couple years out. But I think like legit, like the number one thing I think a lot of like fan games just fall short on is aesthetic. Like I always say this, I feel like custom tiles and even just mixed matching tiles every now and then is like the go-to for a lot of fan games, because I think a lot of fan games, like I said, I understand that it's very like intimidating, but I promise you a lot of people will remember your fan game and your ROM hack a lot more if you put in that extra couple of weeks to like make your thing look distinct and unique and whatnot.
Alright, so
Yeah.
I make tiles actually, like everyone, for Valhalla. So I guess, what do you like look for? Do you look for more of like the Gen 3 or Gen 4 aesthetic?
I like
way?
Gen 4's aesthetic a lot. I think Gen 3 is great and all, but I feel like Gen 3 is like kind of limited. Gen 4 at least has like some sort of like 3D in a way, where it's not
Well,
it's not
that's because
too
Gen
flat.
4 was made 3D.
Yeah, it's not too flat, but it's like popped out a little bit more.
So it's not like the full Gen 5 experience where like some of the buildings are like
Look
actually-
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically 2.5D is what Gen 4 is.
Yeah.
It's more 2.5D than 3D, like Gen 5.
I think
You know
that's
what's
ideal.
funny with the Gen 3 and Gen 4 thing is, I like both of them, but I personally just run with Gen 3 because it's given to you, and it's oddly enough the one that you can do the most with and still impress people. Because if you literally go into DeviantArt for 3 minutes, you'll see all these Gen 4 style tiles, or all the Gen 3 tiles. That's the thing. It's the style that it is nostalgic, but it's one that's weirder to emulate.
The thing with me with like the Gen 4 style, and I know like Sacred, you kind of touched on this in your video as well, it's like there's so many public resources to the point where every game starts to look the exact same. Like they use the same trees, the same grass, the same water, and it gets like really boring, especially when you play as many fan games as like somebody like us would.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, I'm also a viewer too. Like, there's games that I won't cover, but Volty will cover, and I'll sit there and I'll look at Volty's playthrough, and I'm just like, this game does not look good. It could be the best game in the world. It could have the best story. It could have like the best music because it's taken from other resources and whatnot. But it's one of those things where it's like, if it doesn't look good, people aren't going to play it. You have to remember that people are taking their time out to really just go to a site, whether it's Relic Castle or Poke Community, look for a goddamn download link, download the game, you have to put that gem on their computer and actually play it. When they can just watch somebody play it on YouTube, and if they think it's ugly, they're not gonna play it regardless.
Well, you forgot everybody's favorite site, Pokemon.
Oh God.
What's wrong with you? I hate that site. Anyway,
I know, like you mentioned aesthetic and like how you really enjoy a game that has a good aesthetic, and I mean you said you prefer Gen 4, but personally I'd recommend a game called Pokemon Ash and Frost. It has like a very detective and mafia boss type.
isn't
vibe to
that made by the same person that did Nightshade?
it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's made by EGAT made Nightshade. EGAT does the tiles, helps with the story,
Like
and Michael does the story and does the character.
pretty much
like,
everything
or-
in Ash and
yeah.
Frost is just custom, and it looks beautiful in my opinion.
I will
Yeah,
definitely
that's one of the ones I recommend. It's a puzzle based one, but I think it would be interesting for your viewers to watch, as it's definitely out of the norm.
Yeah, like it's way out of the norm.
I'm looking at it right now. This is Gen 3, yeah?
Yeah.
This is fucking amazing.
I know it looks
Yeah,
like
that's what
absolutely
I'm
beautiful.
saying.
This
Like,
is
Cat does an amazing
but
job.
this is what I mean
Yeah.
when I'm saying, like, you know, if you're gonna do these type of like games, like, you gotta push that envelope, because like, while this is Gen 3, holy shit, does this look good? Like it pops.
yeah.
Yeah, like that's
You'd be
definitely-
surprised the amount of renditions they've gone through. I think since the beginning to now, they've gone through at least 5 renditions of tiles and over 10 of characters,
It's fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
just to get it perfect.
They've definitely put in, like, a
I'm
lot
definitely
of work
downloading
into
this.
it.
I'm definitely downloading this right now.
I know, like, speaking of, like, I guess, like, all the programming side of things, I know, like, I think you tweeted out how you were working with Essentials and you kind of got intimidated.
I
so, like,
opened that thing up, and I want you to know I was terrified. I sat there and thought I was slow as hell. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna give up. I give up. This ain't for me.
Yeah. See, essentials. You can work with essentials up to a point. If you don't know programming, then you can't work the full thing solo without using public scripts. Of course, it's public scripts, so that's not going to be intimidating. But like making your own custom like scripts, it'll be
That's a lot of work.
be a problem.
it's definitely a lot
Yeah.
of work. But it's also good to put in that extra work because, like, you'll get a much better product out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, because like the case system that
Ash and
that was implemented
Yeah.
by Michael and ECAT, that's custom script. That's not public. That's a private custom script, and it's the way they do it is very interesting because it's literally just an event trigger that activates an item in your inventory basically, and does this. Is this part of the list? If yes, continue. If no, don't. In simplified terms.
I don't know the logistic behind it, but I know in Pokemon Nightshade they custom coded the Serenity scope. Like that was something that was completely like out of the norm.
Which is nuts.
Yeah,
which is fucking nuts. I sat there and I was like, I've never seen this used anywhere before. I'm like, this is really good.
If you look at a lot of like the ECAT games, they put a lot of heart into the games and all that. So
yeah, if you follow ECAT on Twitter, you'll see her post a lot of tiles from time to time that all are clean. So that's something that's nice. I forgot what I was going to mention earlier.
Okay, we talked about this last episode, or I guess 2 episodes ago, based on how we're going to release it, but. Yeah. We talked about this from like a whatchamacallit, developer side of things, but as a player, I guess. What do you think about Dexit in fan games? Like every Pokemon needs to be in like a certain fan game or something.
I don't think it needs to. Okay. I think like I understand that like having the option to like choose Pokemon is a good thing, but like we have like damn near 1,000 Pokemon now. You can choose like 500 or 600 and be good with that. Like, I remember when I put like Reborn in Essentials or whatever, and like try to like go to the debug mode. There's like hella Pokemon in there that just aren't in the game, and I'm just like this is cool and all, but like I'd much rather just like not have access to a scripted Yveltal when Yveltal's not in Reborn at all, but because it's in the engine, people can like hack that stuff in.
Yeah, because Reborn is quote unquote open source because you can look into your maps and see how they do stuff, which is nice from like somebody who wants to get into it. But when you're like a player going through and you're like, I don't want to. This gym is a little too hard for me. Let me just cheat and stuff. That's a little silly on my part. I mean, and it kind of goes along with debug mode. Kind of goes along with the Dexit issue because that list goes from like the 500 Gen 5 Pokemon to the like 900 including Gen 8. Yeah. Which isn't fun to scroll through.
Exactly. Like it's not like especially when like obviously they're not put in the game. Like I've done this thing where like in Reborn, there's a side quest where you can get Mega Evolution, and I did not want to do that side quest. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not somebody who will do side quests if I'm playing the game for like a video series. Cause like it's weird because it'll stop like everything. Like if we're talking about like old school like let's play playthroughs, I've noticed that a lot of viewers kind of just like deter off. Like they don't try to like they don't care about everything else. They care about like the story and what you're presenting as. So it's like okay, I just won't do the side quest on video. I'll do it like on the side or whatever. But for that specific, like side quest, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna just hack in a mega ring and a mega stone for my Charizard Y, and I ran through the game. And it was kind of just like, well, I mean, it's still a challenging game, and 2, it's like people don't like watching that stuff, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people like. I feel like a lot of like fan game developers like don't understand is that like I understand you're like making the game from a developer standpoint, but like some for me, I make content, but I have to know when to like fall back and become a viewer. So I can see what people are watching, see how people are like taking see what I don't like, so that way I can make content that they do like. So it's okay, cool. If I'm playing like a Pokemon fan game, and this game has like hella dialogue because this game introduced like 20 different characters, and we're on like the second to last release, but we've been like spanning our updates by every year or whatever. It's like how you can see why those viewerships start to go down, and why a lot of people in the comment section are complaining about it. And when you're playing the game, it's like you're just entertaining your people. You're entertaining like your audience. You know, you care about what they care about. But when they're frustrated, and it's really hard to keep up with whatever it is that is going on in the game, and you see them vocally being like real open about how they struggle to do this, it's like, okay, so that's a problem. Because here you are also going through it, but you have to like, for me, I had to sit back and I had to watch like, whenever Rejuvenation and Reborn get updated, I have to watch the last 5 videos of my playthrough. I do. I have to watch the last 5 playthroughs where the update like ends off. I watch the last 5 videos just so I can have like some sort of like idea of where the hell it is I have to, 1, go, and 2, what characters out of the 25 are important in that character arc update that they decided to put out. At least with Rejuvenation, they reuse the same characters, like they travel along with you. And then like Reborn, introduce new characters and whatnot. So like it's a lot, that's where the two differ. But it's just like, dog, like it's hard for a lot of people to care and like keep up with that stuff.
I know, like, on the topic of viewers and stuff, I think, like, personally, just as, like, a developer, it wouldn't be too far-fetched of a statement to say that more people today are interested in making a popular fan game than they are with making, like, a good fan game.
I agree.
I think, like, especially with the release of Xenoverse, I think, like, a lot of people are going to start trying to hit, like, what Xenoverse did. And Xenoverse was a hugely ambitious project. I think they were in development since, like, what, 2013?
Yeah, if you go back into, like, their, their dates, they've been doing that for like damn near 10 years almost. And if you look at like some of the art for some of the characters and some of the Pokemon, the concept arts for some of the designs, they look really rough as hell compared to what we got.
Yeah, there was
and
like
it's
a lot
like,
of
whoa.
polishing done.
Yeah, and it's like that took 10 years, but that's 10 years, and hopefully it paid off. Hopefully, you know, they made a really good and popular fan game, but that took time. I feel like a lot of people are trying to make what that is in a less amount of time so more YouTubers can cover it. And I'm sorry to say this to anybody that does this, it's 2021. Most of those ROM hacks and fan games either never get touched or are forgotten years later.
Yeah. That's part of the problem with our development process is because personally, how I see it, me, Lux, and Jelo, we've all worked on a game. At least Jelo's put out one for a game jam, and Lux is working on his, and I feel like us should be more focused on what we want for quality than like scope of popularity. A game will get popular naturally. It doesn't need to be forced popularity.
Well, I think a game if it gets popular, I don't think people should have access to demos. It's an unpopular opinion, but I think if I was to ever make a fan game, I would never give out a demo except to like a certain few of people. And they wouldn't be YouTubers. Only because it leads the it's one of those things where it's like an expectation where if you put out like a demo, you're almost on like a time limit to finish it, because now you're fighting with not only the YouTubers audience, but now your newfound audience that care about your game, when you could literally just put out screenshots, little GIFs, little features, updates and whatnot, and that be it. I know some people have taken like the low-key approach and kind of just for like, yeah, we're not gonna put out a demo, we're just gonna show like, you know, whatever new forms we're cooking up, whatever new music, whatever new towns we got working on, but like you will never hear from us about a demo. And it's one of those things where it's like, when you say that, the audience does what they're gonna do. Okay, until you come out with something, we don't care about it. And a lot of people hate hearing that we don't care thing. They hate hearing it, but it's such a necessity, because until you do have a product, people will not care. But now you have a 3-gem product that you have to wait a whole year and a half to finish, and by the time that game comes out, people have probably already either forgotten it or it looks completely different than like the last 2 or 3 hours that you put out a year ago. And to some people that's good, but now you have to bank on, you know, do people still give a fuck now, rather than just putting it out.
Yeah. I feel like the thing with Sage is that demos came out a long time ago,
and before that it was a long time ago.
Yeah, and I know it's been being worked on like heavily, but it's one of those things where it's like that demo brought so much hype, but then it brought a downfall with it.
Yeah, because now here we are 4 or 5 years later, and thanks to quarantine, they finally have the time to finish it now.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn.
Instead of us having to wait another 2 years or something.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, now Pokemon Sage is just gonna be one of those things where the YouTubers are gonna have to carry it.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. If I was to make a fan game, I wouldn't give a fuck about the YouTubers playing it. But at the same time, I would want my game to be good. So if it does get chosen for a playthrough, right, that it keeps people like, damn, that's the best game I've ever played. That's the best Pokemon ROM hacker.
Make it good enough to be played, but don't make it focus on being only about being well made.
Yeah, like just focus on making a good, unique, distinct fan game, and you'll be fine. Because what's gonna happen is like people like me and Volty are gonna play it regardless. If it looks good, we're gonna pick it up.
Yeah, Volty will play it regardless. Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson will play it. Like there's no reason why you should be in a rush to put out a fan game when that fan game is going to look rushed and we're just not gonna touch it. There's a lot of games I just don't touch that Volty will, but to me they look like this could be so much better. And I'll just never touch it. Sure, I'm missing out on viewerships or whatnot, but I don't care.
Yeah, it's about like what you want to also put out, not just what the, I guess, viewers.
Yeah, because I mean, because if I put like a thing out, here you go, guys. I want y'all to watch this amazing game, and they're like, dog, this shit looks like ass. Okay, never mind that. Now the videos do bad. Let's go. All right, well.
I mean, everybody's, you're gonna have at least one negative person, always.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. Is like you'll have that negativity towards your game, whether you like it or not, whether it's warranted or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just how video games work. And I feel like that's part of the viewer problem is like, if there's a viewer out there and they're like, dude, this game, I could do it better than them, and the game's been in progress for 3 years and they don't understand that, it's disheartening to a dev, and that's part of the viewer problem.
And you also see when they actually try it, them shits don't even come out.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of unreleased demos and like unfinished promises that get put out in the fangame community, which is definitely a huge problem.
Yeah. And it's a stereotype now. Like it's a stereotype. Like, like the running joke back when Uranium got snipped was like, oh, Nintendo's gonna take this shit down. I'm not gonna get excited for it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, okay, okay, shit, all right. I'll just never make a fan game again. Sure.
Yeah, I feel like, but the thing is with Uranium, theirs was like a reasonable takedown.
Yeah.
As far as I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the reason was.
I think Uranium
got
taken
taken because they were making
down
money.
Patreon and because of just like
they were making money through Patreon.
Well,
I don't remember exactly.
So
why.
my question is, would it? Would you get taken down for making money for the project or supporting yourself?
If you're making money towards yourself and not off of the game as a property, you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you're making money off the game as hey, pay me this, the demo early, then that's where
fuck no. See, if it was me, I would have been like, hey, so I want to make this game, and I know, you guys want this game to come out in a timely manner, but like, of course, this is gonna take time and effort, and I don't have that shit. If you want to help out with bills, sure, because I'm getting the fuck out of here. But other than that, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait it out till I have an update.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a very good like take to go off of. A lot like I think when I released Bushido, the most popular question that I got was, "Is this game finished?" And like to an extent, it kind of like annoyed me because I constantly have to tell people like, "Yeah, it's finished. Yeah, it's finished. Yeah, it's finished." But then like I kind of realized that a lot of people were asking that question just because they didn't want to play a demo that wasn't going to get finished, or like they didn't want to start an adventure and just kind of like
that
leave it
wasn't gonna.
half-assed.
Yeah. Like at least like at least with like games like Rejuvenation and like Reborn, those games are long enough to like keep going. But like a lot of games aren't pushing those 60, 70 hours adventures. They're more like, you know, 15, 20-minute experiences and that's it. But at least they're done.
Also, this is a bit unrelated because I know you mentioned earlier like having multiple perspectives in a fan game, and I just remember there's a game called Pokemon Vanishing Point. I don't know if you like looked at that at all.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's very similar to Parallax in that like you play as Looker, but it's like you can switch between the different like detectives. Like I know there's Nanu, Acerola, and I think it's like something interesting. So I think like if you were to do something, you could definitely take a look at that as an example. And then another thing, I know recently you also had a video kind of on like clickbait and like how you like have to do clickbait to kind of get those clicks in. So do you think that might be a problem with like the standard of fan games that come out recently, or do you think it might be an issue with like the viewers?
I think when it comes to fan games and just people in general, they have to realize that Pokemon is in whatever generation that we're in. So for you making a fan game based on 3rd gen Pokemon, people are probably just gonna, it better have a good story and it better have some good tile sets. Otherwise, it's gonna look like a regular Gen 3 Pokemon game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, when I did Pokemon Radical Red, I used a lot of Generation 8 Pokemon in the thumbnails. Granted, they weren't in the videos, but they're in the game because the game is updated to 8th generation. We're in the 8th generation of Pokemon. Unless you're adding new forms to old, nobody cares about the 2nd or 3rd gen mons that we've seen plenty of times before. Unless you have fake Pokemon, your fake Pokemon have to be your center focus. I'd much rather you have a fake Pokemon dex entirely than you have like 50 to 100 new Pokemon and then like the rest are all old. Because what makes your unique mon better than a fucking a Landorus that you can get later in the game? And sometimes you have to take away that option for people. Like I understand, like, you know, this is one of those things where you have to demand to like the people playing, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to get your point across, you have to take away from people.
Yeah,
you do.
Well, with
that
the
option,
Pokemon normal mix, it's
what
you have to focus on, like Pokemon normal mix. If you have regular legendaries in your game, I feel like that takes away from the point of mixing both. If you have like regular standard like mons, and then so let's say it's a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 Fakemon per 1 regular Pokemon. I think that's good. Just don't include legendaries unless they have a reason to be there.
Yeah,
because then it defeats the whole purpose of it being majority Fakemon.
Yeah, like if you're constantly chucking these new Fakemon at people and you're like hyping them up, like, okay, like we have something like new in store for you, and then like this final climax just revolves around freaking like Entei or Suicune or something, then like everybody's going to be disappointed because they expect to see some really cool new design. I think Xenoverse definitely hit the mark with that, like with the kind of like Fakemon regular mon mix.
Xenoverse did great.
Yeah, like they had like a huge assortment of legendaries.
I tried my hardest not to use fake like new like old Pokemon. Like most of my ending team was like all new Pokemon because they, one, looked amazing. 2, they were like decent as hell to like use in battle, and 3, it's like, would I much rather use a Cacnea or this fire ass like vulture Pokemon that's dark ground that just so happens to have Earthquake in his level up? I'm choosing that thing. I'm getting that. I'm using that. Sorry.
And then Xenoverse also brought like a really good light to like irrelevant Pokemon. Like I don't think anybody would have thought to use like freaking Sharpedo or Galvantula, But like both of those Xenoforms, I haven't played Xenoverse
fire.
yet. Yeah, but like those are the two that stood out to me the most. Sharpedo and Galvantula. Like those are two Pokemon that I forgot even like existed. But like they both look amazing, so I think like that's something they did really well. Then, I guess on the topic of like good fan games, I know you mentioned we've been talking about Xenoverse, but what's like another fan game that really like pops out to you? And like if you had to recommend one fan game to somebody, what would it be?
Desolation.
I think
Desolation is another Pokemon Reborn clone, but it does a really good job at storytelling. I think it's a really good, really like forward story. It has like the whole multiple endings gimmicks where you can like it makes sense to have multiple endings. It's not like just some forced thing. Desolation's really good. I think Legends of the Arena is the most unique fan game on the planet. And it sucks because it slept on like a month. It sucks that it slept on.
Yeah, I think I tried to play Legends of Arena like I think a couple years ago. I don't think it was finished then, but I picked it up and I never got time to finish it. But I did really enjoy when I played it.
It's done.
Yeah.
It finished last summer, and it's like I think it was really good, like as a full experience. I even went back and watched like my old playthrough when I was just having fun, but when I played it the second time when it was finished, I played the entire game from start to finish, and I was like, this is really good, like really good. It doesn't take itself too serious, it's not too playful, you know. It establishes like a decent amount of characters, makes you feel for them, and then moves on.
I'm sure there's a lot of those like hidden gems on Poke Community and Relic Castle waiting to be found. I mean, I'm sure they've been found, just not publicized enough yet.
I think it's a shame because a lot of good games like get like kind of hidden under all these like I guess mediocre games that just like absolutely promote the living crap out of themselves.
Yeah, I feel like that's also a problem. Or games that are like popular because somebody popular is working on them. Like Jade is an example of like somebody popular on us. Jade is one of like the ones that started out as like really popular, really not very known, but started getting more traction. And that's what I feel like Legends of the Arena has done in a way, because it wasn't very well known. But then once it got touched by Volti and you, it got more attention to it, which is good.
I guess speaking of like coverage in fan games, I know like there's definitely like a lot to be said about the algorithm with YouTube and how YouTube kind of pushes fan games out to like people who watch your videos. So like what has that been like for you, like dealing with the algorithm and dealing with like
terrible
people not seeing your videos?
I've noticed that people, the normal Pokemon audience, the casuals, do not give a fuck about fan games or ROM hacks. That's what I've noticed. I've noticed that like they may look interesting, but unless it's something like crazy, they'll never give it a shot. And that's just like, you know, it just is what it is. Like I've noticed that like me, Volti, and even to some extent like, you know, A-Drive whenever he covers them, and like a few other people whenever they cover fan games, the fan games and ROM hacks are like very niche. Like it's like the same community is watching the same community. And it's like to get new people in, it's like pulling teeth damn near. And so I took out like fan game and ROM hack on my titles. I put new Pokemon game in my titles instead, because one, that's better for search. Two, it brings more light to whatever fan game or ROM hack that I'm playing. And three, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like it's better. Like it just looks better. It does good for everybody. Who wouldn't want like their new fan game that they just put like years into to have like 10,000 views, and their downloads just jumped up a couple thousand because people give a fuck now.
Yeah, I think that happened like a lot with a bunch of fan games. Like they would release and then they just have like little to no coverage for like a year, and then like after like a year later, some YouTubers would pick up the game and play it. And then I know you're playing Quarantine Crystal right now. I think that game's been out for like a decent amount of time now.
It's been out since the last summer, and nobody talked about it. I was like, why? What?
Yeah, that's definitely like a very good example of like what I'm talking about with like these fan games under like the rough and like kind of hidden by the algorithm and like the community. And I think like with the Xenoverse specifically, I hate to use Xenoverse as an example so much, but I think like they had that huge animated trailer that I know you even reacted to, and like I don't think many people would like go out of their way to react to a trailer, but Xenoverse definitely did something that was really innovative there, and that's like what really got the eyes on them. And then
if I was
yeah,
for me, I think I know it's a lot of money. I know it's a lot of money, but definitely, if possible, if you know somebody, if you can get in contact with somebody, someone wants to be a part of the process or whatever, having like animated like sprite work for some of your climatic scenes or just your intro goes like a long way. Like I think in the last year a barrier was like pushed. I think Unbound, Radical Red have pushed like ROM hacks, and I think Xenoverse, and funny enough, like most of the Relic Castle games are really fucking good. And I think those quality of games, like the newer games that came out within the last like 6 or 7 months, those are the standards now. Like if your game isn't like as polished or even as appealing as like even Pokemon Nightshade looked fucking amazing on like when you just go check it out, it looks great, right? Bushido coincidentally enough came out around the time we had a whole Legends of Arceus announcement.
Oh yeah,
which is fucking crazy. Radical Red is literally just a Smogon Drayano game. Unbound is a whole experience using the same engine as Radical Red, and it's like games like these and Xenoverse is literally made it. Granted, it's been in development for like years to come, but look what we got in this year. Because I'm pretty sure if we were to get what we were gonna get years ago, it would have been trash. But it was actually a very enjoyable experience for people that played the game.
With this, I want to ask, what do you think about like fan games going to Unity? Because the Epsilon engine is being worked on right now.
Okay, so look. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think if we're actually going the route of like using like actual games, I'd much rather we scrap Pokemon entirely. I'd much rather, if we're going to like Unity, and the fact that we're using RPG Maker now, like I don't know if anybody here has played Amori.
I've heard of it. I have not.
Amori was developed on RPG Maker.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing fucking game, right? And my thing is, if we're going to like Unity and all these other custom like fan game things, at that point, scrap Pokemon entirely and take the extra like 2 or 3 years and actually make your own monster collecting game. And have people buy it. Because now you're putting a lot more effort into stuff that's already out there for free.
I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Epsilon engine getting released, because people are going to find it weird to touch RPG Maker, which is such an old system. People will be afraid, but touching C# with Unity will make people more interested in it, because it's something that's quote unquote easier to learn than Ruby, and it has more knowledge about it available, quote unquote, even though they're the same.
I think that's what needs to happen. If we're moving beyond these things, fuck Pokemon entirely, and everybody make your own video games. Take the same characters, take the same cliches, take the same story, just have different monsters by your own design based off of whatever you want to put out, and deadass just make a turn-based, or if you want to take the extra step, an action RPG, and just put it out there. Like Koromon, Nexomon, these are all Pokemon inspired monster collecting games that, if they wanted to, could have been a Pokemon fan game, but they're not.
Yeah. I think like I see a lot of people like I think this is definitely like a hot take in my opinion, and like a lot of people will disagree with me if they hear this, but I see a lot of people pouring like their own like savings and their own money into commissioning like artists and getting like all this professional work done for their fan game. And I feel like if you're spending like over like even like $500, I think maybe even $500 might be a lot, but like if you're spending that much money just to make a good fan game, I feel like at that point you should kind of move away from fan games and make your own IP so you can make like money off of it. Because I feel like Pokemon as a franchise is very, very restricting. Like you can't do much with it as it is now. But
and I mean, you're putting all this money into something that's gonna be for free. You can't monetize
exactly. Yeah.
Your fan game. Otherwise, Nintendo's taking your shit down. You're gonna have to. I know somebody right now that you have to email to get his fan games. And it's like, damn, because he got a cease and desist from Nintendo, and you have to email him to even like get a hint of a download.
Yeah. And I like it's honestly a shame seeing like all of these people put like progress or put like money and time and effort into something that will probably like I guess Xenoverse now, I think Xenoverse came out in I want to say early February and it's now like the mid-April, and like now like not as many people are covering Xenoverse, and obviously Xenoverse will still have a legacy, but I think like with all the time like getting that 2-month coverage isn't really worth it. I'd much rather get like a year's worth of coverage and be able to release sequels, maybe even reach out to like big name companies like Nintendo or Sony, like have
look at Temtem.
Yeah, like Temtem
is dead ass. Temtem dead ass started off as just a regular ass like Kickstarter game, ambition project, mind you, right? Temtem got a decent amount of coverage too, just because it looked like Pokemon. It was like, oh, it's a Pokemon MMORPG. That's fine. It's a great idea. And now that the Pokemon fans have stopped playing their games, they have a more grounded audience to where they can take their product and be like, yeah, Sony, put Temtem on PS5.
Yeah. And like,
oh, word? Yeah, sell it for $30, $20. Or sell it for free and then just have like updates and DLCs put into it. Now you can make money off of your product. That's fire. That's an amazing idea.
I think like with fan games, it's definitely hard. Like once you've hit that initial punch of like popularity, it's really, really difficult to get that back, especially if you're doing like episode type releases, unless you're like of the caliber of like Reborn or Rejuvenation. There's no way people are gonna like tune into each of one of your episodes releases. Like they're gonna see like your initial demo drop, or they're gonna see your initial game drop, and that's it. Like I'm sure if Xenoverse were to release like DLC right now, it'd probably get like a good amount of traction, but it definitely wouldn't be doing the numbers that the initial like Xenoverse release did. Which is honestly a shame, because like I'm sure that DLC would be great, it'd be like groundbreaking, it'd have a ton of cool new content, but not a lot of people would look at it because they're already like, oh, like I've already played Xenoverse, there's like a ton of other fan games I could play. But then like games like Temtem, they have like DLC releases or new like content adds, and like a lot of people are gonna play
Temtem
that.
goes through updates with islands, which add more Temtem, more like story content,
which is a great idea.
You know, speaking about like games that have stayed in the limelight for a long time, one of those I feel like was Zeta Omicron and Insurgents by Suzerain. Like those games stayed constantly, like had a constant topic on them.
Yeah,
because those were the original like pushes.
I think
like,
like with Insurgents and Uranium, like those are the two names that you'll hear when you enter the fangame community, and like it'll be like, okay, like what do I want to like reach for? What do I want to like hit? Like obviously there are games, in my opinion at least, that are better than both Insurgents and Uranium, but like those two games
point,
like
were
groundbreaking.
And I think, and you know what, I think that's where a lot of people fall short, is they don't think about, you know, the competitive side of everything. Like yeah, it's a fun sport, we all work together and whatnot, but I want my fan game to shit on you. like that ass, like for real, like look at Insurgents, right? Insurgents is a great game to play, but obviously, like you said, there are games that are just better, you know, but they've been better by pure creativity, pure just push to finish a game, and pure like unique and distinctiveness to like kind of just be different than what that is. And that is competition to those games still, even if it don't get coverage. Oh, what is this Pokemon so and so this game looks different as hell. Let me play it. Like if I was to make a fan game, I want it to be better than Reborn and Rejuvenation. I just would. Or Insurgents or Uranium or whatever people are playing at this point in time. Like fuck those games. Play mine.
Yeah. Looking at those two games, I feel like coming into it, viewers get kind of Stockholm syndromed into like, these are the games I need to make. I have to make this popular game.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. It's bullshit. It shouldn't be like that.
I think it's an
interesting
conversation.
It should just be, make the game that you want to make, or make a game that you think people would like to play. And don't make it have to be needlessly popular.
I think like a good example of that is Phoenix Rising. I think Phoenix Rising, to this day, no fan game in terms of graphics, aesthetic, or like just polish in general, no fan game is going to come close to Phoenix
You're
Rising.
not ready for that. I want you to know, I remember when 2011, 12 hit, and I had literally was like, this was before I even made my YouTube channel. I saw Pokemon Phoenix Rising, and I sat there for a while and I was staring at this shit. I'm like, this shit looks amazing.
Yeah.
And to this day, the only game that has even come close to what that demo has in it is some of the Game Castle, the Relic Castle, Game Jam games, and maybe Pokemon Sage.
Yeah, I think it's like really interesting because while like Phoenix Rising looks like absolutely beautiful and they have like all this stuff going for them, like I don't know if you know about like a lot of the Sacred, but their dev team basically just fell apart because of like all the ambition they had going for them. Like they had so many like goals and they had so many things they wanted to do, but they weren't able to like follow through with that. And I think it's interesting because like if you want to get a game that's gonna like absolutely like you said like shit on other fan games, like you need to have like that like a team that's ready to go in with you like head first and just like absolutely like immerse yourself in the development process. I think that's something that a lot of games struggle with now, is like they have that ambition and they have that drive, but they're never able to like sell those promises. And like we get like a lot of unfinished demos from that. Like Phoenix Rising is an unfinished demo. I don't know if you've seen like Pokemon Ethereal Gates, which is now Sea and Sky, but like personally I don't think that game is gonna come out anytime soon. But like
that game's not gonna come out for like another couple years.
And like obviously I'm willing to wait for like a fan game to come out, but like at what point do you lose,
but that's
like,
my thing though. That's my thing though, and that's why I say, please, for the love of God, do not show. Like, if you're going to announce a fan game, make sure you have content to give to the people. Because, yeah, Sea and Sky came out, but we know that as Pokemon Ethereal Gates.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're scrapping if you're scrapping Ethereal Gates, but keeping some aesthetics from that game and putting it into Sea and Sky, we at least... Sorry. You telling us that you completely scrapped an entire region while you were working on it means you have a foundation to build upon. Which means, in everybody else's mind, minus the developers, that you at least have something to build upon that you can change easy. And it's like, as a developer, it's like, no, we have to restart this shit, like damn near cut everything off, and you know what I'm saying? It's different.
Yeah.
It's not what you think it is. It's an entirely different beast. But in like the viewer's mind, it's like, we want this shit. Where is it at? Where is these updates? We don't care no more. So that's why I said take away demos. I don't think demos need to come out unless you have like the next version already ready.
Yeah, like unless you're already working towards that next version, like you definitely shouldn't release like a demo.
Like if you're putting out like a 3-gym demo, you better have the 7th ready, or at least like a couple months coming down, or maybe like you gotta strike the iron while it's hot.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're gonna come out, you're gonna wait years, and then who cares? Like, nope, we're gonna go to the next one. And for me, as somebody who would like to make a fan game, I would be pissed if anybody just played my game and said, okay, next. You know what I'm saying? Like at least Reborn and Rejuvenation, those games coming out, those games have like a certain story quality to them that you can kind of like, okay, I can wait for this. Okay, I can wait for that update. I can wait for this update. It's fine. But that's why for mine, if I was to make it be episodic, it'd be like, okay, here's two or three, or no, even like how you had like chapters in Bushido, right?
Yeah.
It would ideally be like 10 chapters, maybe 15 in one region, and that's like 20 hours worth of gameplay for that region alone. Then we go into the next, and that's 20. But then in that region alone, you have side quests, you have character development, you have some type of plot forming itself.
I feel like that's like the important thing with making chapter release games, because if you make a chapter release, that gives you more freedom to work on like expanding the world within that episode, give more side quests to a person. And if it's like a small episode and you release like a batch of, let's say, 5 episodes, and they're all like 2 to 3 hours per episode, but there's also like another hour or 2 of side quests within just all 5 of those episodes, that's a good combination to throw for like a first release of it.
Oh yeah.
And you're already 1/3 through that first region. I feel like that's a good thing with like episodic releases. But that can also be a problem with like Reborn, how you said in your video. You have to watch 60 plus hours of content to catch up to the current year
like,
of Reborn.
If your episode takes too long to release, nobody's going to remember like what happened last time. You have to like make sure that people are like able to understand like what's going on, and you have to make sure people are able to like kind of catch up really quickly, or else they're just going to lose interest.
Yes.
I think like
hold on, taking a pause. I can talk. Give me like 5 seconds. Whoop.
Hey, editing Jelo here. I just wanted to take this time while we took like a quick pee break or whatnot to say that Sacred's audio at the end right here just kind of cut off. It's not his fault, things happen, but I just wanted to let you guys know that if the sentence just kind of cuts out, that's what happens. I'll shorten the pause so that it's not like silence for 10 seconds, but you know. Please bear with it. Stuff happens. We can't really go back in time to get that recording back, so I apologize, but it is what it is. Back to the episode. I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Hi,
Fireside chat with SacredAlmighty.
You're good.
But I agree. I feel like if as a developer, I just feel like you should at least have some sort of like notion as to what's next. Like for me, like I said, in my head, my fan game would ideally just finish where it is. Like I have no qualms leaving certain characters in that region that they're in.
Yeah.
Like you know, like the Avatar where like they go to the Earth Kingdom. All those characters stay in that arc until the very end of that like climatic joint, like right at the end of it all. To where like, okay, here's the region based on like Japan. Okay, there's, I don't know, like let's do like, I don't know, like 15, 10, 8 towns or whatever, and it's all like governed under like one person, and you have like 10 to 15 supporting characters, but you still have your main cast on you. Your main cast of like 3 or 4, and it's either your rival, he's riding along with you, or your female companion, she's moving along with you. Like your comedic relief characters, they're moving along with you, whatever, and they're all doing stuff. But like ideally, you're fixing not only the problems of that region. So say for instance, the Japan region has like an evil warlord that's like trying to sell out his region to the evil guys that run the fucking world, and you have to not only beat him, but still make sure that they don't infiltrate shit. But you also have to help everyday life people and shit. Like it's a bigger picture thing.
Yeah, well, I feel like that would let's go along with that idea. That would be a good A plot, and then you could have like a B and C plot of helping out the everyday life with side quests.
Yeah.
And then like a C plot of like the rebellion.
It would make it would make more of the world seem like an actual moving world and not just you the character moving shit. Because there's a lot of issues where, you know, you as a character, let's say for instance like you're moving through a region and everybody that is not an important character is still saying the exact same thing 10 gym badges down the line. And it's like, okay, what's happened? What's happened here? Like, okay, what's I'm still talking to this random ass like old guy that's in the city or whatever, and he's just whatever. Like say for instance, like you just beat your 7th gym badge, and somebody is just like regular, still the same dialogue, because who's gonna backtrack anyway? But you have to give people a reason to backtrack, because it adds more to that world. It gives people a reason to give a fuck.
Yeah. I think like a big thing with episode type releases is that it acts like, I guess from a developer standpoint, it acts as like a learning experience. Because I know like before I released Parallax and Bushido, I was working on like my own project that I'm still working on now. And like, I think like it's really important because like you learn a lot and you're able to like develop like a lot of new, like I remember my game before I released Parallax, like I look back on it now and it was really bad. And then I released Parallax and got like a bunch of feedback from it. And I'm like, okay, let's work with this. And then I kind of went back, reworked my game. And then I released Bushido. And then I got like a lot of feedback. I'm like, okay, we can work with this as well. And then I reworked my game. And I think like that's like a lot of things that people deal with. And like Sea and Sky, for example, like I guess they released Ethereal Gates. They got like a bunch of feedback. And then they went back and they reworked everything. Which
and they realize, damn, this game is not what we thought. But that's another thing too. A lot of people don't know that like when these episodes get updated, they're also updating the base game that you've already played. You're going through your save file to finish up whatever it is you gotta like do. But you have to remember these developers are putting more into like the entire game as a whole, and not just that update that's coming out.
Yeah, like a lot of people will go back and like kind of polish their game and then release like an episode with that. And I mean, I think it's just like an interesting way to release fan games, because like you have people who have been like sticking with you from the beginning, and they won't be able to experience some of the content that like I guess other people were able to experience because they play like a later time. So I guess like another question that I had, this is more of like a broad question personally. But I'd say like when you play fan games, you kind of mentioned that you look for like aesthetic and graphics and stuff like that. So like what's like your process of going through like seeing fan games and deciding what to play?
That's a great question. What do the screenshots look like when they're like I've noticed a lot of people just still use the same backdrops for their battles, their battle backgrounds. If it has custom backgrounds for most of their shit, it's probably good.
Yeah,
and that's the best thing I look for. Like the top, like the overworld is gonna always look good. I feel like the overworld, if you're gonna have custom tiles and whatnot, you're gonna always have a good overworld, right? That's just a given. But what else is there? Like some Chinese ROM hacks have certain custom menus. I don't know if anybody here has played Procyon and Deneb.
I've heard of it. I think you covered it, and like a couple other people.
When you press start, a humongous like dial menu comes out, and then you click the bag. The bag is like custom. Like does your menu look different than the original Pokemon menu? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does your battle backgrounds have an extra couple like layers to it, or is there like some more battle backgrounds for like certain distinct fights or whatnot? Does your do your characters look good? Does your sprite work have a lot of polish in it or whatever? Did you go to somebody for yours, or did you make them? Like I think sprite work, battle backgrounds, and then just aesthetic in like the features and whatnot. Like whatever, like your menu's important. How your menu looks is important. How your main character looks is important. How your main characters, like your antagonist and your side characters, they matter a lot.
On this topic, I feel like what you said is like, do they look good? Do they not look good? Like that's part of the game, but there's also like, everybody knows this, but Pokemon whack. It's comically bad, but that's kind of the whole point, is that it's supposed to be like comically bad and like insane. And I feel like those, if you do that right, because I feel like after people see that, they're like, oh, I can make one of these games, and then they make one and it's not good, because they make it ironically bad. Pokemon Whack, yes, it's bad, but they make it well enough to where it's unironically bad. Because I'm friends with one of the two lead developers, Kizzy, and as far as I know right now, in 2 or 3 years we'll see like their new game between Sheriff and Kizzy, and I asked him about like the game, and he's like, yeah, it's fun, it's funny, we don't really take anything serious with it, and the next game we make will be serious. And that's kind of the same with Clover.
Yeah,
like it was a 4chan.
Clover is great. Clover is great.
Like an interesting game to talk about.
Yeah. But the idea is like, look, it's the game with shitposts from 4chan.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like a 4chan
Manager
game, so
now is making. Manager now is making an actual ROM hack game. So I feel like if you make like a shitpost game and an actual game, they're still good games. They just have different qualities to them that make them good.
The thing with like shitpost games, like I guess Whack and Clover are two good examples. There's like obviously like that level of like badness to them with like I guess like the 4chan jokes with Clover and like the MS Paint type art with Whack. But then like there's also like a level of just like insane amount of like polish and just like attention to detail. Like I think Clover really strives with its gameplay and the fact that like they did so many things that like especially back then nobody would have done. And like that just makes Clover like insane. And like but it's interesting because I think if Clover didn't have that like I guess humor and like that edgy humor to it, like not a lot of people would have played it. Like it could have been like this insanely groundbreaking thing that looked great, but like I think its humor is what really sold it, but then like people were able to experience like a really interesting gameplay experience because of that. And like the same thing applies with like Pokemon Whack. Like not a lot of people would have played it if it wasn't for like the haha funny like this art is intentionally bad. But then like there's also like a level of like wow, this game was actually like you can tell that there's like a lot of like effort and time that was put into this game. And I think that's like really interesting to look at.
Yeah. And it's the funny thing is with Whack, like it pushes the boundary of like data storage, like the amount of Fakemon you can put into a game.
I think Whack had like a lot of Fakemon.
There's like I think last I checked there's 1 to 2K plus Pokemon in that game.
I went through the Pokédex and I went to Pokédex live on stream, and we're just like, what the fuck? So many games, so many Pokemon here.
Yeah, and the problem is like all the Fakemon you can find in every route, but all the regular mons you have to go to a cave to find. So they give you that chance to use regular ones, but if you want to just like meme and just go with like fucking the piss Snowball, which name is literally Snowball, you can because it's a side quest.
Yeah.
It's haha offensive humor, but it's semi well thought out, which gives attraction to it.
And I think like Clover and Whack specifically have very like niche audiences that you don't see playing like I wouldn't expect somebody who enjoyed Clover to enjoy like a more professional game like Xenoverse, just because like Clover has like I guess the word maybe like that just kind of like niche aspect to it where like there's like it's just a game that people can sit down and just like have a good time with, whereas like Xenoverse obviously there's like an aspect of fun to it, but there's also like an aspect of like you're looking at it as like a product, and Clover doesn't feel like that. Clover feels more of just like a haha funny like here's like a gift from me to you type thing. There's definitely like a more connected feel to both of them.
Yeah, and I like what Clover does, but like if you cheat in Clover, you don't actually get to end the game. You get thrown in jail, and I like that. I wish more games would incorporate that. But it's hard to do with fan games, but not with ROM hacks. Because with ROM hacks, you can check.
I guess like on the topic of that like technical aspect, ROM hacks have been really pushing like their limits recently. Like Radical Red,
because they now have unlimited space to use it. Because everything's decrypted now, so they have the freedom to do any and everything.
Yeah, like Radical Red at its core, like I don't mean to like bash on it or anything, but it's nothing new. Like it's literally just like Pokemon Red, but it's like with Gen 8 Pokemon. But like that's really what sold it, because it had like Mega Pokemon, Dynamax, Power Spots, all of this like cool stuff, and especially for a ROM hack, like not a lot of people were expecting that, and that's really what caused Radical Red to like pop off as much as it did.
I think like I said, I think Unbound and Radical Red are like the criteria from ROM hacks going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if your game doesn't meet those standards, like you're kind of screwed.
Like it better have a good fucking story or at least some like decent like tiles or whatever. Like you gotta like really like, cause that's, imagine playing like Radical Red and Radical Red and Unbound, and then going back to go play fucking like Light Platinum or Glazed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think Light Platinum, honestly, like just as a specific like topic, I think Light Platinum has also been like doing insane things. I don't know like what
that
Light
DS
Platinum's,
game
like,
is nuts.
Yeah, like
They're
I've
doing
seen
a
like
lot.
Twitter
DS.
screenshots of it, and it looks like just like I'm like, wow.
They're doing a lot with
well,
that.
Speaking of ROM hacks, Prism is something that existed and maybe still is getting worked on by the community.
Yeah, they basically took over.
Yeah, Prism
It hasn't been updated for a long time, but the game is so, because it incorporates the Nalja region, which was made by the same person who made Prism, but it also includes glazed region, the region that Glaze is in, I think Sevi,
yeah,
and 2 or 3 other regions. And it's crazy just thinking that all that is possible within a ROM hack.
Yeah.
To when compared to like RPG Maker, to where if it goes over 99 maps, you're basically
kind of
just disc switcher.
And I think like,
which is a little silly.
I think like the same concept kind of applies to like the new Unity engine that's being worked on with Pokemon Epsilon. Like I will look at that game and I'll just like I could even look at like a video of like them walking around in the overworld and I'll just be like, wow, that looks like stunning.
Yeah, because that
It's
game,
smooth.
Because that game you can,
like it's just
Yeah.
it's crazy.
yeah, because with Epsilon, if it's in Unity, you can make a town of prefab, and then throw that into Unity and make the whole world just made out of prefabs. And if you want to edit a town, go into the prefab of the town that you want, change things around, exit out of it, and you're fine. I'm not sure if that's exactly how they're doing it. I mean, honestly, I can ask Frog about it since he's a mapper, Frog or Chase.
Yeah.
How, like, their mapping stuff is set up. Or when it comes out, look at how it's done. But it's very interesting to think about. Because... And then there's also PSDK to look at.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like technical limitations that are being pushed. Like it's crazy to think that like a year ago, like the maximum that you could expect out of fangames was like some 30 FPS, like Gen 3 style thing. And now we have like people pulling out like 3v3 rotation battles with like 90, 120 FPS and like just like insane amounts of content in their games.
Yeah, and I feel like because an example of a PSDK game that's being like hyped up is Umbra.
Oh yeah,
Butt Juice.
But yeah, it's definitely like a great.
I hate that. I hate his name. I hate his name. Why is his name Bud Juice? Why is his name Bud Juice?
I actually asked him about this, and he said that it was his old Gmod trolling name, and he kind of just stuck with it.
I'm telling him to change it right now.
It's so funny to like talk about him at like a professional standpoint because like, oh yeah, like one of the greatest developers is named Butt Juice.
Butt Juice. It's like, no, change your name.
From time to time, I'll call him by Bryce, which he's fine with people knowing that's his name. Whenever it's like something that's a little bit professional, but it's always funny thinking about, oh yeah, Butt Juice is making one of the greatest looking games with an amazing team.
I remember I looked at like a screenshot of Pokemon Umbra and I immediately just had like this premonition of like wow, I need to go back in my own game and I need to like do something different. Like there's no way like I'm gonna be able to match this kind of quality if I keep going like the path that I'm going. And I think that's honestly really awesome.
He's gotten help from multiple people. He's gotten help from Michael for one of his maps. And if you look back to when they started development to now, I think he even posted a Twitter post about it, to where it showed his original version of the starting town to current.
Yeah.
And it has that classic, like, straight-on trees and everything. And now it's like the mixed placement trees. Everything's a little bit different colored. Better pathing. You can see like the progress that his team has made. And that's going to be one of the games where if a demo ever gets considered to be dropped, they have to be deep into development for it to actually like be relevant forever.
Because like Umbra is especially like one of those games that has that ambition going for them, but if they're not able to back up that ambition with actual content releases, it's just gonna fall short. And that is to say, like, I do believe that Umbra like probably will get a demo one day, and I don't doubt like any of
Umbra will be finished.
Like yeah, like Umbra, if it can like sell on the promises that it's making, Umbra will probably be like one of the greatest fan games of all time.
Oh, I believe it is.
It will be finished for sure.
Yeah.
If it's not, I'm attacking him. I told him, I'm like, this shit looks amazing. Finish this game.
Dude, watch out for his Huskies. His Huskies will get you, dude.
He has a couple of fake mon in that damn game that look fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, a couple? You mean all of them, right?
Yeah,
you're
a lot
right.
of the fake ones look
It's all of
amazing.
them.
And they're getting custom animations by Andy.
Yeah,
one
dude.
of like the
They
greatest.
posted like an animated sprite on
sprite
Twitter, and I like dropped my phone. There was no way. Like I think Xenoverse like had like that huge selling point of like animated sprites in their battles, which is like insanely hard to pull off. But like,
yeah, no,
the fact
Anti and if you want animated sprites, try and get that man. Dude, offer money, whatever. I mean, he'll probably do it for free because I think, if I remember correctly, Putchis has mentioned that like Antian was just like, yeah, I'll come help. I want to do it.
yeah.
So that's one of the things that's nice. I also have a quick question for you, Sega, before we end. Do you think that if you make a Pokemon game, what do you think should come first, map or stories?
Story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your story,
yeah.
your maps are a reflection of your story, and your story is essentially the environment and the tone for all of your maps.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make a dark story, your routes are dark, your towns are dark, your towns are like they're decaying. They look like you have some popular ones, but obviously there's some like undertone message where it's like, oh, the rich are eating the poor type of shit. It's like you have to have like your story makes the game feel how it feels. So when you go into these towns and these routes, it's like, damn, this is a reflection of the overarching story arc.
I think like a lot of things
Yeah.
that fan games like get wrong is like world building specifically, and like I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I think the biggest thing that I'm proud of with Bushido is probably just the level of like world building and like how we had like this really good Japanese aesthetic, and we really sold that, in my opinion at least. And like a lot of people were able to like look at it and be like, hey, this is something unique, this is something different, and they were able to have like realistic expectations. Whereas like you look at like I guess like mainline Pokemon games, you can like look at like Hoenn versus Sinnoh versus Johto, and there's not much of like a difference. There's like slight changes, I guess, to like the maps and the environment, but everything just feels like the same. It feels really repetitive. And so like games that are able to like branch out and do something new like that, especially in terms of like their maps and their story, is just like really innovative.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we're at like the 1 hour mark, so we could probably end off right here.
Yeah.
So Sacred, if there's anything you want to close off with, anything you want to tell the people before we end off.
Take your time. Take your time. Don't rush anything. Have fun. Have fun experiencing everything.
All right, so you hear that, everybody? Rush your game.
Whoa!
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a huge pleasure talking to you and just getting your opinion on this
Yeah.
type of stuff.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think like I can speak for the whole community when I say like we really appreciate you kind of like covering these fan games and playing them. It means a lot to us just as like developers who put time into these things.
I try to, because I mean, I don't know. I've always felt like YouTubers are like the gap where it was like the weird where the reception like is. So like
Yeah.
you cover a fan game, people can like gauge the interest off of like our videos and our views and like whatever people are saying in the comment section. Like it's just it's easier to just see what people do and don't like. But
Yeah, I feel like, but having a Twitter for a fan game is a little crazy until you're deep in.
Yeah, like if you have a
I
Twitter and
think
you don't have
my
anything to show
fact
for it, you're kind of screwed. Alright, well yeah, I think we can end this episode off here. Thank you everybody for listening in. This was the No Names Podcast. Once again, I'm your host Lux Diablo with Jelo and Omega. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next time.
Peace.
Bye bye.